You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
All righty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and joined as always by your co-host, Kevin. Kevin, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Got the abs on the phone. It was on the television here behind me, but I was trying to be professional and not distract anybody. So I turned it off the TV. I had the abs game on my phone. They're up 2-0. Hockey's back. That makes me happy. Let's see what else is going on. All right, we made it through week 7. More successful than not, right? We had some big time fantasy performances by our big time players. So we got to be happy about that. More injuries. That's not good. And oh, by the way, this is the I guess what's the right way to put it, Derek? The most heavily populated bye week of the NFL season right here, Bye-Mageddon.
Yes.
So, week 8 going to be a stretch. Week 8's going to be a stretch, but stick with us here. We'll help everybody kind of navigate through it. But overall, good week 7, man. I was happy with how it turned out for the most part. I really was. So I didn't go up against Jahmyr Gibbs in any like major league that I had this week, and I overcame 2 Jamar Chase games. So I felt pretty good about how this week went for me. I was like, oh, okay. So, here we are. But we're in the grind here, and this is where the depth is paying off.
Right. Yeah, the parlance of Bye-Mageddon is certainly upon us, right? Like this is always a fun time to try and navigate, and never a fun one when it gets down into this one here, especially with as many injuries as we're still trying to navigate through and what that looks like. Now, the only flip side is that on a positive note is some of these players that are on that have been recently injured, they're going on to bye this week. So chance for guys to get a little bit healthy and try and return. And you were going to have to plan for this week anyway. So but that doesn't make it any fun nonetheless. So and just a few of those injuries that kind of popped up there, right? The Mike Evans looks like he's most likely out for the rest of the season now. You had Jaden Daniels go down with or leave the game. It sounds as though some of the imaging has come back on a positive note, but question for this week is still up in the air. Let's see. There were a few others. Who am I missing here, Kevin?
Who are you missing, Derek? I don't remember any major running back. I mean, did Breece Hall get knocked out with a concussion?
I don't believe
he was evaluated. I think he's evaluated. He didn't. I don't think he got knocked out. So he came back. So we got Quentin Johnston came back.
Right.
We have
CD
had
was back.
CeeDee Lamb came back. Right. Mike Evans tried to come back. Amika Mbuka didn't end up missing a game.
Right.
After this, right. So that's beneficial.
The targets that were going his direction were not beneficial last night, but that's a different story.
Baker's he was a little off, right? Like Baker has played so well for the better part of the last 2 seasons, right? Like sometimes it's just not your best game. And the Lions sped him up a little bit. I think they were beating him to his spot a little. He was really high on a lot of throws. And he definitely missed a clear touchdown in the 3rd quarter, I believe it was, and potentially even another one. It's like it wasn't his best performance. But I'm not going to freak out. Like as a Baker Mayfield owner, I'm not freaking out. I'm not freaking out as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan. I'm not freaking out as a fantasy owner with any of the Bucs on there, the exception of Mike Evans. But Tez Johnson, right, looked good in his limited opportunity. Like I said, Mbuka looked to be about 80%, right? Like I think he was missing just a little bit of burst, but he was still there. Rashad White is Rashad White, right? Like we really need Bucky Irving back to help this passing game, take some pressure off of it just a little bit. I think that would have been a big benefit to Tampa Bay last night. Less, here we are. Let's see. Nico Collins got knocked out with a concussion.
Yep, Nico Collins was. Bryce Young left early with. Yep, good.
I was just gonna say, with that being like the third quarter of a Monday night game, there's a really good chance Nico's not playing this week. Like if he's on your roster, you need to plan for the fact that he's not going to be available,
Right.
Which sucks. But let's call a spade. When these players, get tossed into concussion protocol because of a Monday night football game, there's just not enough time in the 6 days before kickoff to get out of that protocol in most cases.
Right. Bryce Young left that game early with an ankle. It's still unclear what he's going to be looking at there. Rico
Justin
Dotto
Fields just got yanked.
Yep, straight up just yanked on that one. Sounds like there was a bit of infighting in there as well, that the owner even got involved with that one on what I saw in some reports. So
saw that too. I read it.
Yeah.
The Jets are going to jet. Like everybody makes fun of the Cowboys for their dysfunction. I think the Cowboys do it as part of the theatrics at times, though.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think Jerry understands the theatrics. Like we all think he's a babbling idiot. And I'm not like when I really think about it, I'm not sure if that's the case. Like he just looks at this differently and he realizes if they're talking about the Cowboys, they're not talking about anybody else.
Right.
And so he just takes these things and kind of bombastically parades them around. So that way, we're talking about Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys again, and and it's the name recognition, right? Like if we're always talking about the Cowboys, we're not talking about the Houston Texans, right? We're not talking about the Indianapolis Colts 6-1. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys.
Right. Well, and Netflix did that whole kind of special, the gambler and his Cowboys type of thing, which is all centered around that. And watching that, I would wholeheartedly agree with that point that you're making, that it's that a lot of it is there's a potential for a whole lot of that to just be theatrics in there as well.
Yeah.
So let's see who else is out. JJ McCarthy is going to be out again with the ankle. That makes me wonder how much of that is they looked at JJ in the first weeks, and then they looked at the difference Carson Wentz came in and did, and went, that ankle is gonna take some more time than we originally thought. So it it makes me wonder how much of that is playing into that. Michael Penix went down. The reports came out somewhat positive. We'll see how that continues to trend throughout the week on that. So lots of 6 starting quarterbacks already on the injury report going into week 8. So we'll see how that plays out here.
And Lamar Jackson hasn't practiced yet either.
Right. I did see some reports that he's trending to play this week, but again, he's got to practice to start that row.
Coming off a bye week, and that's what worries me, right? And I don't have a ton of Lamar Jackson, but in the places where I do, you're off the 2 weeks leading into the bye week. 2 weeks, 3 weeks going into the bye week. Then you had your bye week and you have yet to step foot on the practice field. Like my alarm is going up just a little bit, right? Like you want him on the field to at least give you some confidence. Okay, we know the first half of the season was really rough and we got blistered with injuries, but our guy's back, right? Our captain is back, and we are going to right the ship and try and make a push here. At least Ravens fans are begging for it, right? Like they're looking at the AFC going, we can still do this. Like Chiefs got healthy, they looked really good against the Raiders. I get it, the hapless Raiders, but to hold a team under 100 yards of total offense is an amazing feat in today's NFL. Like, I don't know that we're talking about that enough as just a football industry. Under 100 total yards in the pass happy, opened up, like air it out NFL. And you're going, oh, like that's a crazy number. So kudos to the Chiefs for being able to do it. It sucks because I'm a Broncos fan, but I can appreciate the accomplishment. Like kudos. That's a really good defensive performance.
Right. And definitely an interesting way that one kind of played out there. There the Lions certainly just kind of took care of business, right? Going into that one, there were some teams that certainly just kind of showed up, took care of business, and some teams that let things just kind of fall apart or slip through their fingers, right? There's the Broncos did some fourth quarter theatrics and heroics to do that one.
Historical heroics.
Correct. The kicker for the Giants kicked himself out of a job. And not only that, you started seeing Sean Payton and Russell Wilson still taking shots at each other, even though they're no longer on the same franchise.
I missed that.
Yeah. So what was it in the in one of the pressers? Peyton came out and there's articles all over about it, but said something to the extent of that he was talking to Mara and was really hoping that basically told him that they found something in that quarterback, found a little bit of spark there, and was hoping that that they wouldn't have to have had to seen him this early in the season. On that one, they were hoping that they would have discovered that after they played the Broncos. And Russ came back out and said something to the extent of, it's shameless but not unexpected, and that it said that Peyton's still bounty hunting 15 years after the fact. So it was kind of an interesting read to kind of see some of these back and forths come through on that one. So, but you talk about two guys that apparently still really don't like each other. At least that's the impression that it gives through the media.
You're not going to get along with everybody you work with.
Right.
So. It's a bit more public for these sports teams, but it's no different than everyday life, right? Like you're not going to get along with everybody that you ever work with. Almost impossible. You can like most, you can work with all in some capacity, but you're not going to really like everybody that you work with.
Right. So that was kind of an interesting one to see some of those taking shape back and forth. Which other ones were some standouts there, right? The Browns managed to pull out a win there and put up points on the board.
Big Quinshon Judkins day, right?
Right. Yep.
So he's a guy who's paying off, right? Like if you took the gamble and you drafted Judkins, unsigned, rumors that he might show up and everything. If you took that gamble, it is really paying off for you, right? Like there have been, not just him, there have been some real big late round heroics almost out of this running back group, right? Javonte Williams. Right. We've talked about him on and off, right? Having a great season, especially for where you drafted him. Quinshon Judkins, another one. Great season to this point from where you drafted him.
Rico Dwaddle, right?
Been super hot. Like this is going to be mind numbing because it is clear right now, right this moment, that he is currently the best running back on that roster. I'm not saying that Chuba can't overtake that again. But if you're truly going to play the hot hand, why are you giving the first 6 rushing plays to Chuba? Like, what in the world are you doing in Carolina? Like, if you're going to ride the hot hand, ride it with the guy who just had over 400 all-purpose yards in the last 2 weeks. Like, what are you doing messing around here? Like,
right.
and an expression I heard, I was listening to another show today. An expression I heard was a lot of these teams like to play with their food. And for some reason that resonated with me, right? Like these better teams just aren't putting the bad teams away. Are the Carolina Panthers marketably better than the New York Jets? No. They're not marketably better, but they were a hell of a lot healthier. They actually had people playing the game, right? Their quarterback actually finished the game, like, and you're messing around with it. Like, well, no, he didn't because Bryce Young went out. So neither quarterback
Right.
finished that game. You're right. Yep. So, but you had Tedero McMillan, you have Rico Dwall, you have Chuba Hubbard. Like, I get you're banged up on the offensive line a little bit, but stop messing with it. Like, it's just there's not enough killer instinct for some of these teams who are really trying to separate themselves at the moment.
Right. Well, I found it funny too that they so clear cut said we're out on the Justin Fields, we're in on Tyrod Taylor when Tyrod Taylor in relief in that game came in and went 10 for 22 and threw 2 picks. Like,
yeah, you're not getting any better. And
no,
the Jets are going to jet. I just don't. They can't draft a quarterback. They can't trade for a quarterback. They can't sign one out of free agent. Like there is some deficiency with that organization. What quarterback coaches that their head coaches are hired, whatever it is, they cannot nurture, develop, and use a quarterback in the best ways. This is what happens when you have such strong mind defensive coaches and you don't put a good enough offensive staff around you, though. Saleh and now Glenn, defensive minded guys. Nothing wrong with being defensive minded coach, but you have to have a really good dynamic offensive play caller to help take some pressure off of you. And at least in today's NFL, right? The days are gone where you could have the Bill Cowher, the old Steelers coach, right? Really defensive minded guy, and you're just finding ways to grind games, 14-10, 13-7. Like that ain't it in today's NFL, guys. Like this, you got to be able to put up 23 to 24 points. Otherwise, you're not even in the conversation. Even as a defensive team, you still have to put those points. So the haves and the have-nots. We're starting to see it separate a little bit, more or less the have-nots. We have a lot of have-nots. We have some could-be's. And then we have a couple haves, right? Like the Chiefs, for all the flack we've given them, they're looking like the haves right now, right? They're getting healthy. Patrick Mahomes is leading the NFL statistically, having his best season in the last 5 years. Like he's been on fire. Drake May has been electric in his step this second year. Daniel Jones, who had on their bingo card that Daniel Jones would be leading the highest scoring offense in the NFL right now. And I forget who quoted this, so forgive me. I am not originally finding this. But the Indianapolis Colts are scoring more points per game, have a higher yards per snap, and there was one more metric. Then the greatest show on turf. Right? One of the offense, especially in our generation, Derek, right? Like we would think of an offense, it's like, oh, that Rams offense was so good. Torrey Holt and Marshall Faulk and Isaac Bruce and Kurt Warner was leading it. And you had Orlando Pace anchoring the outside, just nasty. And the Indianapolis Colts this season are better statistically than what that team was currently. A lot of time to change, but it's like, what the heck? So We'll see. They still got some games to play, right? The Colts have some challenging games come down the stretch, but they're holding serve, and in that division, I think they're going to end up walking away with the NFC, or excuse me, the AFC South. Like they're just going to walk away with it,
right? Because I don't know who else is going to really be able to compete there. Because that's right. You already have a 2-game lead on the Jags, and yeah, do we really think that the Jags were going to put up more than a 5, just barely above a 500 season on the best that they would do, right? The Texans, they're searching, and unless they find some way to get absolutely hot, like I think you're right. This is a Colts team that could very well walk away and have the division clinched with 5 or 6 weeks left to go in the season. So, yeah, no, it's certainly some interesting things to see there. We do have some questions coming in here. Should we start rocking and rolling through some of those?
Yeah, jump into.
All right. So Binkin saying, sup fellas. Week 8 is loaded even with all the buys, at least from a DFS standpoint. So yeah, DFS is always a fun one where you can kind of pick and choose and set a lineup that way. So certainly still some great names and some great players and some contrarian plays that you can certainly capitalize on there. So Bing King asking, what is your guys' thoughts on tight end likely this week?
I don't think he's going to offer enough for it. Yeah, it's coming off a bye week, but I mean, you have so many other tight ends to choose from, even with all these bye weeks going on. So Hunter Henry, Fannin, right? They're playing each other. Zach Ertz against Kansas City. You know, Ertz might be a little bit more involved. Evan Ingram's super interesting this week because they're playing the Cowboys, and Ingram has had a much better output here the past couple weeks. Slow start, but he's been better here the past couple weeks. So I like that, right? Oronde Gadsden. Wow, what a breakout he had for the Chargers, but he had been getting more involved. So I think that's potential option, but DFS likely, yeah, he's stupid cheap, but I mean, I don't see a clear path for a touchdown, and you kind of need that out of him if you're going to be playing him in DFS. Right. Otherwise, 2 for 25 ain't going to quite cut it.
Right, and I do like the fact that all of these folks are starting to kind of circle around the, well, he outsnapped Mark Andrews in the last week, and or the last time that they were on the field, and it equated to really not anything for fantasy purposes, right? So cool that he was on the field. When you get 2 targets and 2 receptions for 6 yards, even in a half point PPR, like you're talking 1.6 points. Like doesn't matter to
Cooper Rush had a big hand in that.
Well, yes. Now, and again, right, Lamar's projected to return this week, set to return this week, but I think we're going to see some. I don't know that we're going to see the tight ends just kind of dink dunk down the field and go through that. Like the Ravens are going to have to figure something out on the offensive side of the ball because it has not been working. And I'm just not looking to necessarily go for the Isaiah Likely. Now, if Mark Andrews is traded, then yes, that certainly could be a yes. Then Isaiah Likely shoots up the boards at that point. But again, that's more of a redraft standpoint, and from a DFS standpoint, doesn't move the dial for me at all this week. So, any other thoughts on that one?
No, I agree. I would be looking at other options personally.
Okay. Alrighty. And guys, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, let's go ahead and throw those in the chat and let's talk about those. And while we're waiting for some other questions to come in, anybody kind of stand out here as far as your potential kind of waiver wire looksies?
Yeah, I think holy smokes, my mouse is freaking out on me here at the moment. There we go. I think I think there's a couple, right? Like if Keyshawn Booty is not on a roster, he is worth having as a wide receiver stash, right? Especially this week, you might end up having to play him. Another guy who might be sitting out there is Tyler Algier. Like again, they're going against the Miami Dolphins this week. I understand that this is probably Bijan to the moon, but there's a very high likelihood that Algier is still going to get his against the Dolphins team that just cannot stop the run right now. Manungai is getting some steam in Chicago, right? Another guy. Yes, he's sitting number 2 behind DeAndre Swift, but he's one injury away, if you will, and he's seeing some more usage here the past couple of weeks as well, right? So again, if you're fighting through some injuries, if bye weeks are killing you, I think he's another guy that you need to look at. And Oronde Godson, the guy we talked about earlier, in a tight end deprived, league, as most fantasy football seasons turn out to become, he's not a bad flyer, right? I mean, if you're willing to look in Isaiah Likely, pivot that way. I think he's going to be a little bit more versatile than even like a Zach Ertz, or because they throw the ball more, right? I'm not saying he's going to be Tyler Warren or Jake Ferguson, but I'm thinking the way his usage has been over the last 3 weeks, he's seeing 6-7 targets a game plus, and now we've seen that he does have some explosive ability. Like, what a way to create mismatches, right? Take some pressure off everybody else. So the Chargers have to figure it out. Their defense has not been very good the past couple weeks. They're trying to get things together. Obviously, they're down 2 running backs already. So what they wanted to do coming into the season, they're having to pivot a little bit. And Herbert's good enough. He can sit back and sling the ball 40, 45 times a game. That's not going to be a bad thing necessarily, but you need these pass catchers. And now you add a tight end along with 3 really good wide receivers. It's viable at this point.
Fair enough. Yeah, and certainly, kind of going back to that Mungung guy. That was one of those two that something kind of stands out, right? Like the days of old with Detroit, right? The last few seasons leading up to this one, very much the Thunder and the Sonic and Knuckles type of deal, and David Montgomery certainly having a ton of run in those offenses. The architect of that was Ben Johnson, and wouldn't surprise me to start seeing them take a little bit of that, because they certainly managed to just put up yards on the ground going that way, and that takes pressure off your quarterback, opens things up, and allows you to spread the ball around a lot more. So really like that call out there. Another guy that was kind of starting to get some run, and after some other injuries, thoughts on like a Tez Johnson out there for somebody looking for a flex play consideration this weekend?
Yeah, I think you have to, right? Like, I think he's flashing a bit. Who knows what's going on with Chris Godwin and his injuries? We know Mike Evans is out probably for at least the rest of the regular season, right? They kind of took a step back and updated that maybe he's back for the playoffs, but that does us no good as fantasy owners. So he's done for the rest of the fantasy season. But yeah, Tez Johnson, again, high upside, low floor at times, but definitely has the high upside of a flex play if that's what you're needing. Alec Pierce, again, talking about this Colts offense, higher upside, low floor, right? So you have some of these boom bust type receivers that you can plug in as a flex play. Some of these guys might have to be your wide receiver too with this week, right? We're missing a lot of really good receivers across the 6 teams that are on bye right now. So tack on a couple more injuries, and it's completely understandable that you'd want to take a shot of a guy who can at least get down the field for a deep ball.
Right. And it was one of those too. Like again, right? Baker had seemingly had some issues on finding guys, and you're really kind of putting some good targets on there. But it was one of those. He still had nine targets last night, so certainly involved. And again, with that receiving core in flux, I think that's I like what you're saying there. Any other thoughts on anybody out there that from a waiver wire perspective?
So I'd still keep an eye on Brashard Smith from the Chiefs, right? His stats were inflated because he basically had 10 carries for whatever it was, 10 carries for 35 yards or whatever at the very end of the game against the Raiders. So his stats were slightly inflated, but he is getting on the field a bit more and more, right? We're seeing a little bit less of Kareem Hunt and a little bit more of Brashard Smith as this healthy Kansas City offense kind of takes form. So he's a guy that if you have room or if you're needing some running back help, it might be worth a stash just to kind of see how it plays out, right? So he'd kind of be the next, I guess, the next guy I'd look at. And then, I'm going to say Jackson Dart in some formats, right? Obviously, he's a no-brainer in a super flex format. Depending on who you're trotting out there for quarterback, he's not a bad idea in single quarterback leagues, right? Like you have Sam Darnold and you have Sam Darnold, Matt Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, all on buys this week. People have been starting them. Who else am I missing here, Derek? I'm missing
And you've also got the
Kyler, right? Kyler's on a buy, and it's just okay. I'm going to pivot. Here's my rabbit hole because I brought up it. Are we officially to the point that currently Jacoby Brissett's a better option at quarterback for the Cardinals than Kyler Murray? That offense looks better.
Maybe I think I think Trey McBride from a fantasy perspective makes a lot of sense that way. I don't know from an actual football X's and O's side of things though that it necessarily makes sense on that one, right? Like I think that maybe I don't know that I necessarily would fully sign off on that one yet.
I'm there.
Okay.
Personally, I would tell you Arizona looks better. This offense has to run through Trey McBride. They have no running game, right? It doesn't matter whether it's Michael Carter, Bam Knight, DeMarcado, Trey Benson, Connor. Like it hasn't mattered. They have zero running attack. So therefore, you need to run the short and intermediate passing game through the tight end. You have to get the safety to pay attention to the tight end to be able to try and free up Marvin Harrison Jr. Because otherwise, this is a no-brainer, right? If you're not going to utilize Trey McBride, you double Harrison, you dare Greg Dortch or Michael Wilson to beat you. And then you just stick your most athletic linebacker on Trey McBride and figure, they're not really going to throw to him anyway. Like, you have to get him involved. But Kyler can't figure this out. Like, his football IQ is not getting better. And I think that's my biggest with Kyler. Like, we've seen some ups and downs, and yes, the video games, and I'm not trying to take that stab. But what I am going to say is he's gone through 3 or 4 different head coaches now, Derek, in his tenure in Arizona. He got paid, but we're not seeing growth out of Kyler. Like, he has been the exact same guy for the last 3 years now. Like, there's no added wrinkle to his game. And for a long time, Kyler looked like he was going to be kind of that one of the next potentially great quarterbacks. It's just something's not clicking. I don't know what it is, but something's just not clicking.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that could be. I think it'll be interesting to see how that kind of looks and works going forward, right? Like if he's healthy, what that looks like there. But I mean it'll be interesting to see, right? Because this is what Drew Petzing's third season as the offensive coordinator, and certainly doesn't seem like it's gone anywhere there over the last few seasons. So I don't know if that's the quarterback issue, a offensive play calling issue, a offensive scheme issue, a personnel issue. Like could be any number of things, but it is one of those that it certainly doesn't seem like it's been a that big of a thing. It's so much so to the fact that they said see you later to Drew Petzing. So I don't know. It is one of those that when you see see that rock and roll, it'll be interesting how that plays out there. And actually, I think I just saw it where I think I just messed up when I said that they let him go. It looks like he may still actually be there. Yeah, Drew Petzing's still there, but that offense, that offense doesn't really look good and hasn't looked good for a few seasons. So, but anyway, I'm not quite there with Kyler, but I see the point.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
No, I mean maybe he's able to shake himself out of it, and we'll see. But it just, I don't know. I just for the season that some, maybe not everybody, but some thought that Kyler could have this year, he has fallen so far short of expectations for being that, 7th, 8th, 9th quarterback off the board. We haven't seen anything close to it.
So, Binkin coming in and saying that Atlanta is going to crush this weekend for sure. Going back to your comment there on that juicy matchup.
Oh heck yeah.
Terry coming in saying rip Genty and that Raiders offense. What's good, fellas? Terry, you're looking a bit more like an oracle after the conversation last week and what the Raiders look like after this last performance for sure. So.
Definitely a bad game. Definitely a bad game. I would suspect things look better after the bye week, at least short term. Figuring you'll get Brock Bowers back, which will be an immense help. Jacoby Myers should be back on the field. I understand that he hasn't done much, but he's at least a veteran presence out there to kind of keep going. And again, Genty had been having a decent run. Chiefs defense traditionally is really good against the run. They've done well against the run this year. It was the rest of it that was crazy, right? Again, under 100 total yards of offense. If I were Pete Carroll, I'd be reassessing some things big time. And hopefully that's what he's using the bye week for.
Absolutely. Mario saying, good evening, fellas. Just here to hear the discussion and support the channel. Appreciate that, Mario. Terry saying, shout out to the fellow GMs that survived the Jamar Chase Thursday night performance. That was a tough one to go up against, especially diving into the weekend there.
Yeah, kind of bookend, right? Like maybe you went up against Jamar Chase and then you had to wait until Monday night and you had Jahmyr Gibbs who outshined him. Like it just, again, a couple of really big performances. CD looked great. That was big. Josh Jacobs got in the end zone a couple times. You had Devontae Adams Sunday morning with his touchdown bonanza. That was good. Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey both just are amazing.
Right.
Did their thing. So for as bad as the Dolphins are, I mean, you still got to believe that HN is just kind of the heart and soul of that team right now. So you can bank on him being productive. But Rashid Rice, that was great to see him back. So a lot of big performances this week to help make up for that. It's not always that case, right? Like sometimes you get that monster performance against you, and
That's all that it was. Yeah.
Yeah, you're trying to climb Everest to get back in. This week, we had enough really good individual performances that all kind of mixed out across the board that it looked bad Thursday night going against Rodgers or going against Flacco if you had to start him, or Jamar Chase. You were able to survive it much more this week than many of the Jamar Chase monster performances, it seems like.
Right. Terry saying Flacco versus the Jets or Caleb against Baltimore.
I'm gonna lean Flacco. I think Baltimore coming off a bye and getting healthier, I think they're gonna have something for the Bears. The Jets, I think it's, and that's part of the reason I think it's Flacco. They still have no run game. Cincinnati's offensive line is still terrible. But if Joe Flacco can continue to find his receivers, his points will just kind of add up.
Right. On the benefit too is that Cincinnati's at home. The Bears are on the Chicago's on the road at Baltimore. So I would still lean the Caleb side of things. Just with what Baltimore's looked like so far, but if anybody wanted to put up a strong objection and say Flacco's the guy, I wouldn't be pounding the table that it's still Caleb Williams. So, I lean Caleb Williams, but I think that one's closer than off of the initial gut reaction there, and wouldn't mind going the Flacco side, but I would still lean Caleb. Any other thoughts on this one?
No.
All right, Terry on YouTube. Rest of season thoughts on Hunter versus Worthy. One got to go within 2 weeks to unlock my team. Full point PPR. So Travis Hunter or Xavier Worthy rest of the season, huh? Terry, do you get IDP points?
Yeah, right. Man, I'm going to tell you, I'm leaning Worthy right off the top, just because I'd rather have a piece of Kansas City's offense than Jacksonville's.
Right.
But, and this is a big but, seems like Travis Hunter might be that rookie wide receiver who has the big second half, right? You kind of see one of those. And Buka's been great from the start, right? So I'm disqualifying him from this conversation. But just traditionally, you see one who kind of tees off and it just starts to click for him. Like I could see that being Hunter. But man, oh man. I think I'm gonna lean Worthy. I just do. I'd rather have a piece of Kansas City than Jacksonville.
Fair enough. And I can certainly understand that. And what I'll tell you as well is at least you got 2 weeks to make that decision. Jacksonville on bye this week, right? But they get that juicy matchup against Las Vegas coming back in week 9. And I think you'll see some more things kind of unlock, so to speak, there, right? Because we've seen Travis Hunter with 7 or more targets in each of the last 2 weeks out here. And I think you're right, Kevin. This wouldn't surprise me if we start to see the extension or the ascension happen here over the back half on this one. And he certainly kind of profiles as that wide receiver in that situation that could have that back half explosion. So right now I would still lean the Xavier Worthy for exactly what you were saying there. But at least with having a couple of weeks to kind of figure this one out, Terry, I'm going to wait until week 9 to fully make that decision and really kind of take these next 2 weeks at face value when I'm evaluating that as well. So it wouldn't surprise me that we see. No, unfortunately not. Does that mean that that you've got the 2 weeks isn't really 2 weeks? So Terry, let us know if that's what that actually means there. Binkin, how many more fantasy points does Bijan Robinson score than Algier this week? Here, this one.
12.
Yeah, that's about where I've got it as well. I was going to say about 10 to 12. So you and I are pretty
25
close.
versus 13 kind of sounds right to me.
Yeah, I had it 20. I had it about 22 to 10 on that one. So we're kind of same boat there. Jason, should I drop Mixon? Evans might be back for the fantasy playoffs week 15 through 17. Henry got Ertz for Tracy, Mungungai, Bashard, or Tez.
So I would drop Mixon and Evans and go after Mungai and Tez. I don't know that you want to drop Hunter Henry and just roll with Zach Ertz. Like, I still think you're going to be playing roulette at the tight end position, and there's nothing wrong with that. But Zach Ertz, he is not a set it and forget it tight end.
No, not at all. Jason, should I drop Nick Chubb, Cup for Trez, Mooney, Coleman, Magungai, or Burchard?
Wouldn't hate that.
You kind of cut out there. I didn't quite catch it.
I don't know that I hate that, right? If your running back room can handle it, right? Like, yeah, you can drop Nick Chubb and Cup, right? Like, Cup has zero upside anymore. Like, he just doesn't have the juice. And that offense is completely running through JSN right now. And we sure don't hope that this happens, but it's going to take an injury to make Cooper Cup like really fantasy relevant again, at least this season. So you want to take the upside with Tez, okay. Keon Coleman's flashed, but it's not consistent. You could drop Nick Chubb from an guy. That's fine. Mooney's interesting only because they let go of what was it? St. Cloud? Was
it Ray
McLeod. Ray
Yeah.
McLeod. So it was. So that's a little interesting, but I don't know. All these guys are kind of boom bust, right? And if you're going boom bust, I think I'd rather have Tez Johnson as a boom bust guy with the youth and maybe a bit more explosiveness than the Falcons, who would just as likely want to turn over and hand the ball to Bijan right now. Coleman, who's yet to separate himself in Buffalo. One guy's interesting though. Like you could drop Chubb and Cup for Tez and Manungai. If you're just going off of depth purposes, take the youth. Take the youth.
Take the youth. Take the upside there. I can see it. Jason, should I drop Ayuk and Fannin? They got Tyler Warren and Io Manor for Tez, Spears, Magungai, Brashard Smith.
I have not heard any type of an update with Brandon Ayuk.
It wouldn't surprise me that he doesn't make it back. Like, I haven't heard anything either. But the fact that we're coming up to week 8 and we're still not even, hearing that, we might be seeing some things. I don't know that you're going to see him come back this year and or be fantasy relevant if he does. I don't mind the, dropping the fan inside. Tyler Warren is a set it and forget it type of tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, I don't mind the Tez or the Magungai side of things there either.
Yeah, I'd definitely drop Ayuk for Tez. Like that is the one thing that I think you can definitely do. Tight end, yes, Tyler Warren's your set it and forget it. If you don't want to have to chase it later on, then you're keeping Fannin. If you don't care, and if Tyler Warren's going down, you just know you're going to have to dip into the waiver wire again. Then go ahead and again, I I would lean Manungai. Again, but Brashard Smith is interesting. Like again, if you want a piece of that Kansas City offense, Brashard Smith just to kind of sprinkle him around. That's not bad.
All right. And Binking asking Dart or Caleb?
I'm going to lean Caleb on this one. I think the Eagles are going to be very much aware of how they got blitzed a couple weeks ago by these Giants, and I think they're going to be really locked into this game. So I'm going to lean Caleb because I think Dart's going to struggle against the Eagles personally.
Yeah, I would also lean the Caleb side as well. Yeah, it's one thing when some of these tendencies and things like that start showing up on film, much less when you face the team again for the second time in the year. So I think they'll have some answers for the Giants moving forward on this one. And Terry, when he was saying the no, unfortunately not, that was for the defensive points for the Hunter Henry side of things there as well. So I don't know that my answer changes, Terry. I would still, wait it out the 2 weeks and see what that really looks like with a little bit more data behind that question. Any other thoughts on that one?
Sure.
All right. Terry saying that Swift has zero room for error. He thinks that Magungai will eventually take over that backfield.
I don't think so. As far as a takeover goes, I don't think so. Again, Ben Johnson likes two, right? And he's made no bones about that. Swift was the vet. They were trying to see who was going to come up behind him. I think Derek nailed it. Like they want DeAndre Swift to be a lesser version of Jahmyr Gibbs. This is why the Lions let go of DeAndre Swift, so that way they could get Jahmyr Gibbs. But I think he wants something like that. Manungai, you might see him with some more goal line work, right? As this goes on, you could see him take some of these touches that Swift currently has. I would buy that if he continues to perform well. But to take over, I won't subscribe to that just yet. I think DeAndre Swift absolutely has his role kind of cemented here in the Chicago offense. And the issues with Chicago's offense are not DeAndre Swift. Like it is offensive line, it is Caleb Johnson not, at times not making the right read and not playing within the scope of Caleb Williams not playing within the scope of the offense. Like it is not DeAndre Swift who's causing them pain offensively.
Right. Yeah, I think that you'll see, right? This is very much kind of a poor man's version of that. With Gibbs being kind of the poor man's version, or I'm sorry, Swift being the poor man's version of Gibbs, and Magungai being the poor man's version of Monty there. So, the budget version, the Chicago budget version. There we go. Right. And then Jason saying that they said maybe week 10. Coach said
maybe week 10 means most likely 11 or 12, and that also means a couple weeks for him to get up to speed and really start going. Like I don't want any part of this Brandon Ayuk deal. Let it be someone else's headache, because you're going to do it and then he's not going to perform as a starter anyway. So you might as well take some real upside with you.
Right. Well, and then couple that with the fact that, it's week 10, maybe week 10. I'm agreeing with you that it's probably more like week 11, week 12, another week or two to acclimate, get back into that. And then that also means, where that because we're really looking to gear that up based on where we think we're going to be from a playoff push perspective, which at this point, the Niners are certainly looking really good, sitting in the top spot in the division there. But right, there's still a lot of football left to play, and if they're now on the outside looking in, does it become this is more of a next season type of issue? Then and we're not going to really rush them back to try and get reps in and things like that for a team that may not have a shot at the playoffs there.
And I personally would not be happy with myself if I banked my chances on getting into the playoffs on Brandon Ayuk coming back and performing at a top 15 level.
Right.
I just don't think you're going to see that this season. Maybe next year, right? Let him get fully healthy, come back. It may be next year, but if I'm in a fight for the playoffs or seeding, it is really going to grind my gears if I stick Ayuk in my lineup and he only gets 3.5 points.
Right. If he's bust out a couple of weeks going through that, and so I would agree with that. Any thoughts here as we start looking towards the Thursday night game with the I do believe I heard something about that the Chargers are looking at potentially holding out Haskins from this game, and he may not be available going into the Thursday game.
I mean, the Vikings are a solid defense, right? Like, I think again, this is going to have to be a Justin Herbert game. I don't know that Kamani Vidal is going to be able to do this and shoulder the burden. Short week, everything else, especially if Haskins is being held out. Like, you're not going to want to put a ton of wear and tear on Vidal. Chargers have shown they have 4 very capable pass catching weapons, so you don't need to. And for one game against a team that did just get torn up through the air by the Eagles, I think the Chargers can do some of those similar things, right? They have probably a better complement of pass catchers than Philly has right now. So I guess that's kind of what I'm looking forward to, seeing which version of the LA Chargers we get this season, or this game. But I think regardless of what it is, I would expect Justin Herbert to kind of keep on his hot performance here and be able to spread the ball around. And, you'll see, 7, 8, 9 targets go around between all these guys almost, right? And you can absolutely get there pretty easily. If we think Herbert's going to throw the ball more than 40 times, you could see all these guys with 8+ targets as he just kind of spreads it around to the open guy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is one that's it'll be interesting, right? Because the Chargers certainly have been kind of a what team shows up type of issue. Like that very much seems to be kind of their issue going throughout the season, is what team is going to show up what week. So it'll be interesting to see how that one comes to play. Minnesota coming off the bye. Aaron Jones looking to potentially return off of IR on a shortened week. So Minnesota also saying that McCarthy's not going to play. So this one here will be interesting to see, and I'm excited to see this one and see how they really try to utilize and which Chargers team we see show up. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, I sure hope Jefferson has himself a solid game.
Yeah,
got his chances, right? Like, it's not that Wentz isn't targeting Jefferson. That's not it. We've all been spoiled by Justin Jefferson, though, myself included in our home league, right? We get spoiled, with all these week in and week out performances. And I'm not saying that he's not quarterback proof. I'm simply saying I would love for him to get into the end zone once or twice and just be able to solidify himself as that top 10 wide receiver. Because right now he's just kind of middling at the top end of wide receiver 2 levels week in and week out.
Right. Yeah, kind of getting there in season long performances a little bit with some of the aggregate, but certainly has not been that just consistent top tier guy this season. So it'll be nice to see if they bring that one out there as well. I'm not seeing any additional comments or questions coming in here. Any final thoughts out there for the viewers and listeners?
Enjoy the Thursday night game, right? It's a funky week, so hit the waiver wire, keep grinding. It gets a little bit easier after this week. We know there's a lot of big time wide receivers specifically who are out this week, but um, continue to grind. Let's see what we can get as far as W's, war of attrition type thing here in week 8. So hit it hard, and we'll see everybody on Friday, hopefully, for the bet set snap that goes live at 11 p.m. Eastern. So you'll have Derek and I back with you going through basically any and everything y'all want to talk about. So start sits, last minute waiver wires, injuries, just thoughts on the game in general, DFS if you're binking, and kind of putting lineups together if you'd like to put a little bit of financial backing behind what your thoughts are this weekend. So, we're here for it.
I like it. Last question of the night. Mario chiming in asking, is Dart the sleeping QB of the season?
I guess maybe only because, right, he was a backup to start the season, right? Like, again, it's crazy what the Giants are doing in the thought process of they have no one really to throw the ball to. Right? The New York Giants are all energy. Like, it is like straight, like stereotypical frat boy energy. Like him and Cam going out there, it's like they're slamming 40s before they go out and take the field, and they're just really good at doing it. Like, it's crazy. I do think it kind of catches up to them over here a little bit, though. Like, I think I'm not gonna say that the clock's hit 12 and they're gonna lose their glass slipper, but I am saying they are what they are, right? They're a 2-win team. Yes, they have a good win against the Eagles. We're gonna see this weekend how the Eagles respond to that, because that wound is still fresh. I promise you. Philly has not forgotten being embarrassed by the New York Giants. And I think, we see this slide, and maybe some of this moxie wears off just a little bit after you lose consecutive games and everything else. But Dart's nice to have as a backup. Again, playing him over Kyler. I know he's on a bye week, but I mean, there's a bunch of guys you're playing Jackson Dart over right now. Gino, I'd throw Kyler in there. Anything that the New York Jets are trotting out there at quarterback. Like CJ Stroud in a lot of cases, right? Like, I think I have more confidence in Jackson Dart than I have in CJ Stroud right now. Dylan Gabriel. I'd much rather play Jackson Dart over Dylan Gabriel. Cam Ward. Like, again, Jackson Dart's at least more entertaining. Cam Ward might be a better long-term quarterback, but Cam Ward is boring.
Yes.
Not a good thing, right? As a franchise, you want your quarterback to be boring, right? Come in and do your business, learn, grow, get better, rinse, repeat, go on. But boring quarterbacks aren't fun for fantasy. Like, Jackson Dart's at least entertaining.
Right. Yeah.
Like, he's a guy that you do want to root for. Like, it's an entertaining person to have on your roster. So I guess to the heart of the question, sleeper quarterback?
Up to this point, sure.
Yeah, I mean, yes. No, because it's not like he came out of nowhere, though. Like, we were all kind of, why is Russ starting? Like, why? Like, how long is it before Jackson Dart takes over? Like, there was buzz around the kid before the draft. It was not, oh my gosh, look at this guy. He's come out of nowhere. Like, it's not the Brock Purdy effect.
Right.
Like, we knew who Jackson Dart was.
Yeah.
So sleeper quarterbacks are hard in general to tag, though. Like, I would argue Matt Stafford's a better sleeper quarterback.
Yeah. The guy that you were taking well into the 20s and is in a top 10 spot coming into this week. Yeah.
Yeah. Dak Prescott, better sleeper quarterback. Again, 10th round and later, right? Like, you're taking these guys late enough. But those are a couple guys that come to mind that just a bit more fantasy friendly in their production, at least to this point. So I guess I would argue that if you're thinking round 10 and later as fantasy
Daniel
relevant,
Jones.
Daniel Jones, Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
And I'd even throw away Dak if you're saying no, he was going in the 9th. Okay, fine. I'll throw away Dak. It's still Daniel Jones, Matt Stafford as far as sub 10 round.
Right. Well, and Dak was a guy that most people were just playing out of on several of those things coming into the season, right? Like ADP, I
Not
felt
on
like
this show.
that's true, and it's very true.
Not on this show. You and I were more than vocal about this.
Yes, very true. But yeah, I remember walking through most of my drafts going, thank you, and moving on when, just bypassing so many of the quarterbacks and going, oh, Dak's still here, and pick him up and move on, right? Like, so, but again, right? Like, I think that's one of those that he's had a very strong couple of weeks here, but I think Kevin just listed off a couple of quarterbacks that probably would more fit the sleeper mold at this point and are having better so far seasons. Jordan chiming in saying, "Sup, good old boys." Not much, Jordan. You know how we doing it. But yeah, that's going to take us down here to the end of it. I guess any final thoughts out there for the viewers and listeners?
No, thanks for tuning in and supporting the podcast. We appreciate you guys. We love the interaction, being able to go through fantasy football together, right? Like it is an individual activity in a lot of ways, but it is a group passion. So it's fun that we get to share that with you guys.
Absolutely. I appreciate everybody tuning in, chiming in. That's going to do it for us tonight. You can find us on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Good Old Boys FF. And wherever you're listening to this, be sure to hit that like button. The subscribe button certainly helps out. That's going to do it for us tonight. He's Kevin. I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe. Toodaloos.